Well, it's on days like this. I'm really glad we've got a Sunday broadcast because I've been chomping at the bit, as I know a lot of you have been out there wanting to respond to the ridiculous government shutdown that's scheduled to happen here in just the next few days as Obamacare begins to go into effect and people learn just how bad it is. What's crazy is the Health and Human Services and other federal agencies involved in the administration of the government takeover of health care at the behest of foreign banks that are engaged in a direct piratical assault on this country, they admit it's not going to be ready. Even if you believe in this socialist model, which isn't even socialist. There are actually some Northern European countries and a few others where you can get pretty good socialist health care. It's a two-tier system that the general public can go get socialist health care. Japan, there's other examples. I've talked to a lot of experts that do it pretty good. But the UK, Australia, Canada, most of the countries, it is a living nightmare. I know people from Venezuela. I know people from Cuba. You can't get good heart surgery there. You can't get 1/10 the treatments. I mean, it's ridiculous. You get a cane when your knees go out. You don't get eye surgery. I mean, it is crazy, crazy that we've gotten to this point. But the House has delayed Obamacare as government shutdown nears. They funded the government, so it's a lie when the media, the controlled corporate media, the dinosaur media, the kleptocratic media, the imploded media, the dead media, the fraudulent media, the state-run media, the sewer stream media, the parrot media, the prostitute media, you know those people, the repeater media, the teleprompter media, the talking point media. I'm sorry, I kind of do that like I have Tourette's syndrome. I apologize. I don't really have it. Maybe I do, but I need some Prozac. That'll fix me. The point here is that they are saying, because I've been watching the news yesterday and today, I don't usually watch mainstream television a lot, but I've been monitoring the propaganda. They're up there saying the Republicans are going to shut off the government this week. And that is not really the case, ladies and gentlemen. And so when we come back from break, I'm going to go over all the facts and take your phone calls. We're going to give the number out on Obamacare and on the facets of it, people that support it, people that don't support it. Now, the number's not out yet. I'm going to give it out in the next segment. We're going to open the phone system up. We have to turn it on. It's computerized. It's fancy, like in the Jetsons. And once we turn it on, in about 5 minutes, then you can call in, and I'll give the toll-free number out. Oh, and I almost forgot. First-time callers. You disagree, you agree, you want to call in, I'll play the great Karnak like Mr. Carson would do and try to guess what type of government employee you are when you call in support of it, giggling on a power trip. So we will be doing that coming up in the first hour today. And then, look at this little tidbit from the Daily Mail that ties into our story from 3 weeks ago, where our high-level source said that there were nuclear warheads that weren't supposed to be at Dyess Air Force Base in West Texas, came out of bunker mothballs, were loaded on trucks to go to Georgia, to go to South Carolina, and that it freaked out the base security and people and others to the point that this was told to the media, not just us. We went with it. Just like the Navy SEALs told me they knew that they blew up the helicopter to get rid of SEAL Team 6, and now you see that all over the news, or on and on and on and on and on. And then Lindsey Graham, the day after we release it, it comes out as running around saying, look for the East Coast to be nuked imminently with missing nukes or Al-Qaeda. Well, here it is. Second in command of country's nuclear arsenal is suspended as he is investigated for gambling. Yeah, you think he's really investigated for maybe some sports gambling? No. He's being relieved of command, a little bird told me, because, well, the brass is upset about the missing nukes. Hope they don't send a hit team in here. It is the 29th day of September 2013 on this live Sunday edition. I want to thank you all for joining us today. are going to be here for the next 2 hours. I'm going to give the toll-free number out in a moment for first-time callers in the first hour today to give us your take on the looming government shutdown and all the different facets of it, whether you agree with Obamacare, disagree, love it, hate it. What about the spectacle and the lies of the state-run establishment mainstream media? That's not the dominant media anymore. It's the mainstream media. It's the con artist media. It's the teleprompter media. It's the repeater media. It's the get a government or corporate press release and regurgitate it. No analysis, no background, no intelligence, no historical understanding, no muckraking, no journalism, no integrity, no nothing. Just I'm a corporate whore. I'm a government prostitute. I'm a media person that will do whatever the establishment tells me to. Boy, it's easy. And now the CIA and the Department of Defense and the White House are coming out. The Associated Press reported a few months ago with computers that write the news stories. The establishment just puts out a press release, and then to make it look like there's different angles on it, nom de plumes, that's pen name in French, well, they have a nom de plume for the computer. That's really been going on for a decade, but now they're announcing it in the end of propaganda bans domestically. The prostitute, sellout, kleptocratic, Decepticon, New World Order, Luciferian media, whatever name you've got for it, the disgusting, sniveling, discredited, imploding black hole media. That's a good name for them because nothing escapes from it. No truth ever comes out of it, only lies. All right, I'm perseverating on that subject. They've come out and said the Republicans are going to shut down the government. And that's the talking point. The truth is that I criticize Republicans when they need to be criticized. And I can't stand the Republican blue blood leadership who's being forced out right now. There's a revolution inside the Republican Party by the libertarians, constitutionalist Tea Partiers, the real Tea Party, and Karl Rove and John McCain and Lindsey Graham. They're all sniveling on their gunboat as it sinks. And they are freaking out and trying to discredit, along with Harry Reid, oh, the Tea Party doesn't have any power. Oh, the libertarians are bad. Oh, they're a joke. They're discrediting Republicans. Remember that talking point the last 5 years? Now Harry Reid, we played the clip last week or on the Sunday show over and over again, but maybe later we'll find that and play it. He said, the Tea Party's taking over and running things. It's terrible, and we can't. That's the same thing Karl Rove's doing. And every time there's a Republican or Democratic leaked meeting with millionaire fundraisers that are given hundreds of thousands apiece, what is Joe Biden and what is Obama and what are the Republican blue bloods talking about when those meetings get taped and released by patriots on the inside? They can be in a meeting with 15 guys, it leaks now. Because it doesn't matter that those guys are rich. They don't want to destroy freedom completely. Even if they're establishment types, they don't want to see the country completely implode. This is a suicide pact to work with the New World Order and the globalists and the kleptocrats and Agenda 21 and all the rest of it. And so they leak the tapes over and over again. We played them of Joe Biden and the rest of them scared of the Tea Party. So they've gone from saying we're bad, we're evil, oh, it's over for us. Oh, ha, ha, ha. Aren't we discredited? Ha, ha, ha. The Tea Party started by Ron Paul 8 years ago. First Tea Party march ever in Austin, Texas, then in Boston, Massachusetts. We, the people, are not partisan. We want the Bill of Rights. We want the Constitution. We want America back. We want due process. We want family. We want private property. We want the right to self-defense. We're not liberal. We're not conservative. We're Americans, and we're done. And we are leading the debate now and gaining ground every millisecond. Look at how everything's coming out, that man-made climate change is a fraud and a tax scam, and the Earth's been cooling for a decade, and the warming ended 16 years ago, 17 years ago. Look at how all of the different programs from Obamacare that's totally unpopular now, and 91% in major polls say the government killed Kennedy. We're winning there. I mean, there's hundreds of points where the ATF now whistleblows on Fast and Furious and whistleblows publicly on the stand down that went on, and the SWAT teams go public on the stand down that happened at the Naval Yard shooting. And Now there's whistleblowers about the government funding al-Qaeda, inside special forces, and whistleblowers about the assassination of 23 SEAL Team 6 members to cover up that there was no bin Laden raid. It was all fake. They killed an old guy that's now, by the way, in the news. I forgot that. He was in the news Friday, not just Seymour Hersh, two-time winner of the Pulitzer Prize going public, and saying that from all his intelligence and sources, the entire bin Laden raid was fake, never happened, 100% lie. That was in the London Guardian, Infowars.com, DrudgeReport.com carried it. And then we talked to Cy Hersh Friday, and we said, man, you said you'd come on 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and we contacted him, and he emailed back and said, hey, I've done enough. You guys keep doing what you're doing. I don't want to self-immolate myself. If I go any further, I'm dead. And he didn't say don't talk about it. I think that's tomorrow we're going to do a news article on that email. Cy Hersh. I'm not going to get into our conversations behind the scenes or anything, but usually the emails I've seen, that's how we communicate. It's, you know, by the way, this is off record. This is not off record. He said, I've done enough. I think I don't want to self-immolate, kill myself. Because he's the type of guy they'll go after. You know they killed Hastings from the Rolling Stone. I mean, that's documented. Up one side and down the other, because he was about to expose the domestic death squads is the intel that I had. Oh, but I'm sorry, it's too late. It's up on DrudgeReport.com right now on the left-hand side from the Associated Press and Infowars.com. AP's on the top, Infowars.com is under it. Reporters to reveal U.S. assassination program, including domestically. Oh, Michael Hastings' car blew up, but Greenwald and others are still going to go. You're going to blow them up too? Are their cars going to blow up driving down? I mean, you can't kill us all. See, that's the thing about the human spirit, just like the Alamo. You kill a couple people, it doesn't intimidate folks historically. It actually makes people stand up. The truth is humans really aren't cowards at the end of the day. We're lazy and we're in denial. But the globalists had soft power. Now they're having to use raw power. I mean, if they strike me down, which I'm not looking forward to, I pray it doesn't happen, you think that's going to wake people up? It's not going to intimidate people, I will assure you. You think they want me as a martyr? Boy, then everybody's going to look at what I've said and find out I'm dead on in the bullseye. About 95% of the time. Oh, we make mistakes, but we're not trying to lie to you here. We're trying to tell you the truth. And we're going to do that when we come back and take your calls on what's really in the government shutdown, who's really behind it, and what's really in Obamacare. And how that's why Obama doesn't want to blink and wants there to be a shutdown so then they can later sabotage Obamacare, because the truth is it's so unpopular, they want to blame it on Republicans so it never gets fully implemented instead of it getting implemented and politically wrecking the collectivists forever. Because this bill is so bad and so corrupt and had so many special interests in it. 3,000-page bill, 10,600-plus page writers. It's got so many groups paying like a slot machine or like a vending machine in Congress that it's all conflicting and so criminal and exempts all these big groups that there's no way to implement it. So maybe Mitch McConnell's right. Maybe the Republicans should let it be implemented. Because I had this epiphany today when I was jogging, really looking at all the angles. When all that blood's pumping through your brain, it's like your brain works better. I don't know what it is. Like it's like being on a drug, you know, about 2 miles into it. The point is that it hit me. Wait a minute, maybe Mitch McConnell's right. Maybe we let it go through, filibuster it like Ted Cruz, you know, did and everything, so that people know what's in it. But then, okay, we tried to beat it. You get it, and let's let them try to implement it. Yeah. Yeah, the boots of the American people and the free humanity that's awakening are going to walk all over the New World Order. Let's let Nancy Sinatra take us out of here. Crank it up. We'll be back and give out the phone number and break down Obama death panel care. I'm Alex Jones. I love freedom. What about you? Stay with us.
The GCN Radio Network.
Waging war on corruption. You're hearing the Sunday live transmission. We're back weekdays, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. The websites are Infowars.com, backup, Prisonplanet.com, nightly news, Infowarsnews.com, or Prisonplanet.tv. And in the next hour, I've got massive international news, missing nuclear weapons, Daily Mail reporting on second in command of country's nuclear arsenal suspended. Told you stuff's going on. We're going to be getting into that. We're going to get into secret assassination teams, not just globally, but in the U.S. as well. That's set to be broken by the London Guardian star reporter, Mr. Greenwald. That's up on drudgereport.com via AP. Be sure and check that on the left-hand side of drudgereport.com. That's all coming up in the next hour. Let me give you the number. So in the next segment, we can get your take on Obamacare. I mean, I know what's in it. I've scanned over it. I understand health care. I've looked at it. It is the biggest screw job I could imagine. And it's so bad, the corrupt have overdone it here. It's so bad, it will be their undoing if it's implemented. And I've been of the perspective that if it does get implemented, they'll just collapse the entire healthcare system and go pure socialist. But then the greedy private insurance companies that want to administer it, along with the foreign banks that control them, are not going to want to have it fully nationalized down the road. So it's going to be a giant train wreck. So maybe Mitch McConnell's right saying it's horrible. He said this last Thursday. Let it go into place. It'll destroy those that wrote it. But then I think, but that's incredibly immoral to let the disaster happen. It's almost like a false flag, letting them get it through. But we haven't let them get it through. We've done everything we can. And now they're going to shut the government down. The Republican House has funded the entire government, funded Social Security, the military, Medicare, Medicaid, food stamps, HUD, everything. Everything is funded. Everything. Everything. Which in itself is immoral because the whole country's $17 trillion in debt. It's unsustainable. Notice we've doubled the debt in the last 5 years, what we had in the first 230 years. And then it's going to double again. So that's immoral. But they did fund it. And the media is going, they shut the government down. It's going to shut down in a couple days. We've only got a couple days. Total fraud. But give me your take on it. Do we now just sit back? I guess we can't stop it. Or will who will win the showdown of the shutdown? The Republicans are on the side of right, even though the old blue blood establishment Republicans wrote this bill 10 years ago with Mitt Romney. The insurance companies wrote this. And I'm not saying all insurance companies are bad and they're all crooks, but the corrupt ones wrote this to make people buy their care, to lower the quality of it. It's why, on average, the top 10, Don Salazar did an article on this for Infowars.com on Friday. On average, because we average the 10 together, the 10 top, on their own graphs right off the New York Stock Exchange, they had over a 90% increase in their stock. Almost a doubling in the last 3 years since Obamacare got passed. Just in anticipation of the rape room. Heard about Saddam and his rape rooms? Well, this is a financial rape room for you and your family. Premiums doubling already, set to double on that by 2015. I mean, this is unbelievable. I cannot believe how bad it is, how sneaky it is, how deceptive it is. But why not? Foreign banks running the country have already stolen tens of trillions in banker bailouts. Warren Buffett, the biggest recipient of it all. That's McClatchy Newspapers. Just type in Warren Buffett, biggest recipient of banker bailout. Lobbies to raise taxes on the middle class to get more banker bailout money when he's tax exempt. And guess what? 15 years ago, on record, he spearheaded writing legislation to exempt the offshore billionaires. Oh, man. I mean, you talk about a scam. This is beautiful. So here's the toll-free number. There is the headline from McClatchy, as I said. Buffett, champion of bailout, is also its leading beneficiary. Boom. And what, that's from 2009, everybody. So there you go. That's from Charles Pfeiffer, if you want to go read it. Just giving a little bit of facts there. It's kind of what I do. I'm sorry. It's outrageous how these liars count on people being totally uninformed so they can get away with all this crime. Here's the toll-free number to join us. It's 877-789-ALEX. That's 877-789-2539. If you are an Obama supporter and you are a government health care supporter, I understand that you rank a lot of fluoride, have a low IQ, probably weren't breastfed. I'm not being mean. Tying your shoelaces is a big challenge. I'm not being mean. Let me just give you the number slowly so you can call in. Are you ready for it? It's 1-877. Well, actually, with the new Common Core, 2 plus 2 could equal 5. So I could give out a wrong number and they could get into the show under new government training. Of course, that won't work like that in the real world. Folks, I'm being an extremist. I'm sorry. Could I just give the number out wrong and they can get on like 2 + 2 = 5? Then if I say give out the last number wrong, shouldn't they be able to get a hold of me? Let me give the number out wrong on air for you. That's how you like it. Here, let me give it. No, I'm going to give it to you right, folks. Don't want some innocent person being called by 1,000 people. 877-789-2539. For Obama supporters, here's the number. 877-789-2539. Just pick up that Obama phone you got and call me and tell me how I'm wrong. Tell me how I'm bad. Tell me I need more fluoride to be like you. Soon I'll be like you. I'm not trying to be mean. Actually, we have some smarter folks call in who really believe they want to help poor people and really believe all the bull. And so they're not even dumb. They're just gullible. And I've been gullible before, too, but it's time to not be gullible anymore. So when we come back, I want to talk to you. But here is my good buddy Rand Paul on the all-seeing CBS today, breaking down the truth that it's Obama shutting the government down, not those against his gang rape care or whatever it's called. Here it is.
Well, I think there's really a problem with limiting people's choices, and we should continue to have this debate. But it's the president who's refusing to come to the negotiating table. We've now offered a new compromise. Our new compromise is not getting rid of his signature achievement, but delaying it to make sure that it doesn't totally destroy the insurance market in our country.
Let me just ask you this, is there a way out of this? Democrats are not going to go along with postponing health care. You don't have the votes to override a veto. Is there a third way? Is there some way to prevent the government from having to shut down and putting 800,000 federal workers
he goes on and calls for a conference committee. All right, I want to play one more clip because I mentioned this earlier. Here's Harry Reid a week and a half ago saying the Tea Party's running the country.
They were violent, but they were anarchists because they did not believe in government at any level, and they acknowledged it. The Tea Party kind of hides that. They don't say we're against government. That's what it all amounts to. They're not doing physically destructive things to buildings and people, but they are doing everything they can to throw a monkey wrench into any form of government, whether it's local, whether it's state or federal government. That's what it's all about. And so anything they can do to throw a monkey wrench in the wheels of government, they're happy doing that. And I'm sorry to say my friend from Oklahoma is helping them. Maybe not directly.
When we come back, we'll play the part where he says the thing about the Tea Party's running the country. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. Stay with us. You don't have to be a poor person that's been conned by the globalists and their Obamacare. The government wants to run your life, folks. They want to make decisions. They want to control health care. They want 1/7 of the economy. They've already got half the economy. So the little bit that's left, they want a big piece of that. That's what tyrants do throughout history. But if you are Obama supporters, you will go to the head of the line. 877-789-2539. I'd love to hear from Obama supporters out there. I know we have hundreds of people calling in, so we're trying to go through your calls right now. Just bear with us. We're going to your calls coming up here in just a few minutes. Now, let me go over some of the facts here. It's countdown 2 days till Obamacare either kicks in or doesn't start kicking in. And it's 2 days to fund the government or not fund the government. And my issue is, why in a supposed free country, when I turn on the news, everything is about the government? It's the center of attention. It controls the industry. It controls where the money goes. It controls 90+% of R&D. President Eisenhower warned of that. It is the center of our lives now. And I thought about what a theft it is today that I have to spend all my time studying these kleptocrats, studying these criminals, studying these special interests, because in the last 60 years, we've let all these corrupt people take over every strata of society. They've already bankrupted the country many times over. There's no way to ever get out of this. And so their answer is full steam ahead, devalue the dollar, run up all these debts, and then deliver armored vehicles to every city, town, university, and train for open warfare with the American people who don't want full collectivization during a collapse. Because in every country where they've had collapse, communist China, communist Russia, countless other countries, they put all the mechanics and doctors and workers and people that have skills in forced labor, national compulsory service. And then whoever's pot-bellied and can hold a machine gun, who was against you having a gun, they're going to stand over you and rape your wife behind the Homeland Security building while you're out there picking cotton. So this historically is a nightmare. I mean, if you know history, you know that we are in deep, 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 deep trouble. So let me go over a couple headlines here. This is from Politico. Again, House delays Obamacare as government shutdown nears. House Republicans force through a short-term government funding bill. So the headline should be, Republicans fund government. But no, it's government shutdown nears. Bill that delays Obamacare and permanently, again, House Republicans force through a short-term government funding bill that delays Obamacare and permanently repeals a tax on medical devices, setting up their most dramatic face-off ever with President Barack Obama and Senate ratocrats. The vote to delay Obamacare was 231 to 191, with 2 Republicans voting against the bill, while 2 Democrats supported it. The Republicans opposed the bill were New York Representative Chris Gibson and Richard Hanna, and Democrats who supported the measure were North Carolina Representative Mike McNerdle and Utah Representative Jim Matheson. So there you go. There is the facts. It is not the Republicans that are trying to shut the government down. It's Obama saying, you will give me the entire 3,000-page bill, 10,000 pages of writers, or I will shut the government down. And then they can blame the economy falling apart. They can blame the fact that Obamacare cannot be implemented. They overdid the screw job. It's so bad. And there's so many conflicting special interests in there, in the gang rape. I mean, that's the only way to describe it. I'm sorry. It is like, you know, hundreds of special interests just in there, raping the American people financially, and industry and healthcare companies that actually make devices, from heart monitors to heart valves to metal rods for your leg to prosthesis in your mouth. I mean, it's just an unbelievable tax on healthcare, written by the insurance companies who get to cut the quality of care they give and then make 35 million people buy the care, which is then watered down. The only winner short-term will be the general welfare crew, but they already get free health care, Medicare, Medicaid, charity care, the rest of it. So, I mean, illegal aliens don't get denied. They come up here and have their babies. The general public, though, if you're a citizen, Hispanic, white, black, doesn't matter, they know you don't know that by law they can't refuse care, and so they'll tell you, leave, go die. They'll leave you dying on a stretcher because these hospitals that are supposed to be charity care, that is, they're tax exempt, most of them, they're not really tax exempt. They're keeping the money. Here's another one. House stands firm against Obamacare. Senate won't budge. There you go. Showdown intensifies with Obamacare delay. Kevin McCarthy, House will send third volley to Senate if Reid rejects last night's bill. Republicans are giving them every chance to do the right thing and actually go into conference or go in and at least get rid of a few of the taxes that are in there. There's more than 50 different taxes. 8 of them are on poor people, payroll taxes, you name it. Continuing, Rand Paul suggests Congress break government funding gridlock with conference committee. Just mentioned that, but there it is. Here's another one. Forbes, if Republicans want to shut down Washington, they'll have to ask China's permission first. And then Forbes goes on to admit the majority of our debt is owned by the communist Chinese and that they've signed agreements to continue to fund that national debt. That's why the globalists did this with the Federal Reserve, to put us into debt to foreign powers under globalism, to claim that we're basically a colonized, captured third world country and we're not allowed to not go under socialism because the communists say so. In their never say die efforts to defeat Obamacare, Tea Party Republicans brought the federal government to a giant step closer to shutdown last night. What they seem not to have considered is how America's foreign creditors will react. Yeah, that's the spin by the establishment blue bud Republicans is, oh, you'll hurt our credit. Our credit's already dead. We either get out of this now and have some hope, or we just keep going down the road of bigger government will fix it. go into more socialism, go into more collectivism, raise the taxes more to pay off the ever-growing debt, and maybe you've got a future. Oh, we'll have our credit rating lowered. They want to use these crises they've created to blame those of us that want to save free market, to blame us for what socialism and crony capitalism and mafia government's done. See, they're doing it now. Although China, Japan, and other major creditor nations, like the Federal Reserve, it now has more debt than China, by the way. But of nations, it's the communist Chinese. Although China, Japan, and other major creditor nations have no dog in the Obamacare fight, they have a strong interest in preserving America's basic financial, economic, and social stability. From their point of view, the Tea Party contingent is not following the script, and a correction may prove necessary. If the creditor nations were to sell just a small portion of their American assets, they could send Wall Street into a tailspin with unpleasant implications for many Republicans. There you go. The message is, we hold your debt. We hold you hostage. We're the big banks that run you. We got the communist Chinese to buy the debt. We're too big to fail. You give us whatever we want, no matter how big the screw job is, or we'll implode your economy and remove your credit rating and stop buying your debt. That's how they hold us hostage, to steal over $47 trillion, according to Bloomberg Financial, to give to foreign banks, and Congress can't even find out where the money went. $47 trillion. That's enough to run the country for what? 5, 6 years? Ladies and gentlemen, we've been colonized. We've been broken up. We've already been captured and conquered. This is so incredibly criminal. This is so historical. And here is Forbes. The headline should be, Forbes and Republican blue bloods prepare to hold America hostage with communist Chinese, or private European Federal Reserve to work with Chi-Coms to hold America hostage. I told you all this was coming, folks. And you watch, they'll do Obamacare, they'll gang rape everybody, they'll raise tens of trillions more off middle class, they'll ruin health care, fully nationalize it, but still keep the profits private for offshore banks. And it'll get worse and worse. They'll say, give us more banker bailouts, or China and the Federal Reserve will pull the plug. How about we pull the plug on you? How about we have more oil than Saudi Arabia? We can bring our jobs back. How about we arrest all you people? How's that sound, jackasses? Because let me explain something to you. We know exactly who you are. We know about your globalist plan. We watch the Davos meetings. We cover Bilderberg. We know who you are, and you're not going to get away with it. All right, as usual, I'm pretty fired up on Sundays. You know why? I'm really kind of a nighttime person, and I always do the 11 a.m. morning show. And I'm just more aggressive in the evening is why this happens. And I've had more time to just read all the news and get more and more upset about it. I'm going to go to your phone calls all the way to the bottom of the next hour, because I'm going to them late, on Obamacare. Then I'll shift gears into all the other huge news, assassination squad news coming out, AP reporting. I mean, this is just biblical in proportions, how evil the criminals are that have seized our government. But I remember reading Council on Foreign Relations publications from 20 years ago, going to the library before the internet was as prolific as it is now, in the mid-90s, and reading where they said, we're going to transfer all the jobs to China. We're going to give them the entire infrastructure, because the Communist Party knows how to work with us. This is the big banks. And we're going to use that to leverage America and have them buy our debt and hold our industry. And we're going to basically move the center of world power to China. And they put out publications like, the 21st century will be the Chinese century. You mean the communist, Foxconn, Apple, suicide net, slave labor, robots replacing humans, 7,000 riots a month in China? I stand with the Chinese people from Tiananmen Square and now. They're great people. They hate their filthy government. It's the Communist Chinese Party, 1 million people out of 1.3 billion, that the globalists are working with using their people as slaves. And using those slaves to turn us into slaves, leveraging us in the market. That's not a free market. And I'm reading this Forbes article. I didn't get to where it says China now calls the shots, and Forbes magazine calls for China to drop the hammer on the Tea Party. Let me tell you something, Forbes. See, it's the blue blood Republicans that came up with all this. Nixon going to China and all that crud. I have had it with you people. The Chinese people are going to take their country back. We're going to take our country back. And how, look at this. It is sometimes suggested that by triggering a sell-off, creditor nations would be cutting their own throats. Actually, this is characteristically myopic Western way of looking at things, a view that completely misunderstands how things have changed and that East Asia holds the tune. The point is that the creditor nations are long-term holders who are largely indifferent to short-term fluctuations. And it goes on and says the Chinese need to tell us what to do. You mean the communist? That our government in 49 put into power, now declassified. Our government put Mao in, and he killed 80 million people plus. Our criminal banker government, the CFR, put him in on record, declassified. John Birch Society said that back in the 50s, declassified 4 or 5 years ago. Our government put Mao Zedong in. Because our government isn't our government. It's a bunch of foreign, bloodthirsty banks. But the minute we're aware of who they are, it's all over. They lose the moral authority. It's over. So see, Obamacare is about a foreign takeover, a globalist takeover of America. And it makes me sick. So get this straight. The Republican blue bloods are calling for the Chi-Coms to drop the hammer on us. And that's what they're saying. Notice Obama's saying, you do this, you're going to hurt our credit. You do this, they may plunge the stock market next week. Just like they did in 2008 in October to get too big to fail through to rip everybody off. See how they hold us hostage? Henry Paulson, the Secretary of the Treasury, went to Congress in closed-door session. We broke it here with a congressman. And they said there'll be blood in the streets and tanks in the streets. Oh, you notice they already pre-deployed all the tanks. I have that out of the Dallas Morning News and armored vehicles. They're already ready for us. If we don't play ball, they'll just turn the economy off. Well, here, we'll just turn you off politically, knowing you're behind it. Because this only works, you kleptocratic con men scum, if no one knows that you didn't do it. But we've all put the message out that you're behind it. So you go ahead, we'll take our licks, you take yours. I'm ready to take my licks. I'm right up front in your face. I know who you are, and I'm exposing you. You got it? And the Pentagon's awake, and the police are waking up, and everybody knows you're the ones. You notice you have a 9% approval rating for a Syria war. Congress has a 9% approval rating. Government has 17% trust with the public. You're not going to do some government shutdown and hammer the stock market, like you've done before now. Everybody is waking up that knows how to tie their shoelaces, and they know you're the enemy. They know the globalists are a corporate crime syndicate leveraging all these other groups of tyrants like the communist Chinese against us, and we're done. Obama this year, in January, hired the communist head of the French economic system, this, I forget her name, female economist, to come over here to communize and communitarianize America. That's a quote. I mean, how dumb do they think you are? They're going to wreck the country if we don't give them what they want, and that just wrecks it slower. They're going to strangle us. They're like, look, I'll strangle you really fast if you don't give in and let me strangle you really slow. I'd like to strangle you really slow. I'm a psychopath. I like to torture you over several weeks. But if you don't let me, I'll kill you right now. Well, you know what? Kill us right now, then. But instead of you just putting your hands around our throat, whoa, we have hands too. How do you like that politically? We're going to stomp your head in. We're not even going to use our hands. We're going to get you on the ground politically, and you are never going to get up, you big fat bullies. Just like in the famous spaghetti western, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Tuco says, oh, you like it when I'm in handcuffs and you're stomping on me and beating me up. But big guys, you ever get down on the ground, you're never going to get back up. You understand that? And let me tell you something. The spirit of liberty is rising. This country isn't Russia. It's not China. It's not other places where you had peasant classes before that never had freedom. We've had a taste of it, and it ain't going to be a cakewalk, you bastards. We got 400 million guns. You got that through your brain? And, oh, I know. Hey, I'm not going to start anything. You're going to blow stuff up and blame it on us. I got that. The point is, we're not going to your Gulag archipelago. We're not going to wait there cowering in fear. You got your homeland and all this other crud. Homeland Security, people. The Capitol SWAT team told us about the stand down before the BBC. Of course, we didn't read the email till the next day, but, your own Capitol SWAT team listens to InfoWars. You really think you're going to pull this whole thing off? You're done. We blew your operation, you bastards. You could take me out all day long, But see, you can't beat me because I'm committed. We've already blown your operation. You are blown. Oklahoma City is blown. Your fact that you run Al-Qaeda is blown. The fact that you run... I hear talk radio everywhere sounding just like this show, but on lithium. Calmly up there saying this. It's out. It's over. The truth's out. Genie's out of the bottle. Nothing's going to save you. Nothing's going to help you. It's over. You might as well give up now and back off and keep all the stuff you've stolen and run to Switzerland. Or you can push it, and I know you will push it, just like King George III and everybody else. But this time, you're not going to get to sit over there overseas when it's all over. Long after I'm deep in my grave and millions of others are, we are going to hunt you down and bring you to justice before grand juries and juries, just like Nuremberg. And you know what's going to happen in Nuremberg, too, to all the bankers and the New World Order heads that did this. You are going to be brought to justice. Do you understand? And, folks, I'm not just up here putting this out as positive cheerleader talk. I'm not up here just saying all this because it's what I want to say and what I want to believe. I know it historically. I know it in my gut. I know it intellectually. I know it spiritually. If humanity decides to resist you, it's over for you. And this Agenda 21, making us all poor, screw job is not going to fly with the American people. Not with the military, not with the police, not with your bureaucrats, not with your executives. Nobody wants to become impoverished serfs to a bunch of criminals. We're going to break in 2 minutes. Let's start the hour with calls. And Johnny, Sherry, Mike, Paul, Michael, Chris, Vicky, Ray, Sean, Don, Robert. We'll get to all of you. Let's go to Chris in Bosnia. Go, Chris. You're on the air. You want to talk about government shutdown.
Hey, Alex. How are you doing?
I'm good. So you're an American living in Bosnia? Tell me about it.
Yeah, well, you know, I just got back from a trip to Bosnia, Croatia. I'm a first-generation American. My dad's 100% Serb. He's taught me a lot about what happened over there and what's going on there now, and I saw it with my own eyes. Not for the first time, but, you know, I'm in my upper 20s now. And first of all, I know you're on Obamacare. I wanted to get to that first. Ted Cruz was awesome with that filibuster he had. The social worker that called in and said you have a choice, quote-unquote, to pay for health care, but actually, he also said it. He admitted it. But you get penalized if you do not buy it. Then what happen if you refuse to pay the fine? I mean, it's Orwellian. He's such a mind-numb government double-thinker.
And then you still go in and get the charity care. Stay there. I'm going to come back to you. Second hour coming up. Tell your friends and family to tune in. Stay there. I'm going to come back to Chris, and I'll race through calls next hour. I'll get to everybody. But here's the deal. You saw Greece, you saw Portugal, you saw these other countries. They hold them hostage. This is what they do in third world countries like Mexico. We're going to cut the water off if you don't accept higher taxes. That's all government shutdown is. It's totally staged. They say it's going to save our credit while they're deliberately wrecking it. This is how they conquer you, is economically. This is globalism. This is New World Order. Admit we were right. Admit Ron Paul was right. Become an American. Become a patriot. Wake up. We can stop these people. But you've got to admit we're under attack to do it.
And Radio Network.
I don't mean to go wild on air. I just think about how hardcore criminals are taking over, arming to the teeth against us, preparing for war against people, bad-mouthing the Founding Fathers and Army training manuals. It's Twilight Zone. And I'm not going to sit here and go along with it. I'm done. I'm all in. And let me tell you, when you go all into something, it's energizing. I can't help it. I feel like I could take like 20 people on, folks. And I just wish other people had the animating spirit of liberty. And I know that spirit's beginning to rise. Let's go back to the calls. I said I'd shut up. Just shut up, Alex. Chris in Bosnia, finish your point. You want to talk about Obamacare? Go ahead.
Oh, Alex, you got my blood boiling, man. I got that Serb and American blood mixed together, just that feeling of independence, you know? But a lot of people, you're probably aware of this, but a lot of listeners might not know that in Bosnia-Herzegovina, it's called the Republic of Srpska, the north and southern parts of Bosnia and Herzegovina, connected by an eastern slit that's on the border of western Serbia. It is an actual political entity of itself. You're not going to see it on the map, but through the Dayton Agreement in 1995, where Clinton, Milosevic, Bosnian leaders, and
yeah, it's Kosovo and that whole area where the Muslim invasions were stopped, and under Clinton, and now they're trying to give it to the Muslims. They're not even against the Muslims, but it shows how the globalists will work with the communist Chinese, the Muslim extremist, anybody to bring down sovereign countries. And I don't have a drop of Serb blood in me. I'd be proud if I did, because there are people that have fought against a lot of evil. The point is that you guys have had the whole world gang up on you, and then when you defend yourselves, they call you terrorist. And it's the same thing with Assad right now fighting al-Qaeda.
Yeah, and you know, the interesting thing is my mom and my dad, I remember growing up, they almost got divorced over fighting over this stuff because my mom was watching all the mainstream media, like that was basically backing all the Muslims and stuff. And, you know, but like I said, it's not that the Serbs are all good either. I mean, they committed war atrocities as well. But
No. Listen, but the UN's own report in 1997 said double the attacks by Croats and Muslims, the number. It was a dirty war. There were atrocities on both sides. I'm not Muslim. I'm not Croat. I'm not Serb. I studied it, and they started the war with the Serbs. I mean, it's just, look, whoever starts the war is in the wrong. If I do horrible things to you once you start the war with me, it doesn't matter. Under common law and common sense and international law, it's on you. Do you understand that?
Just let me tell you what I saw over there in Bosnia. A lot of people think, oh, third world country, blah, blah, blah. First of all, there's no GMO. There's no McDonald's, no Burger King, no Kentucky Fried Chicken, nothing. Everyone has its own vegetable garden, every single house. The houses are pretty nice. When you get there, we touched down in Germany.
And you had your own power plants and your own factories making cars and aircraft, and the globalists hated it.
Yeah, there's beautiful women everywhere. We were going on hikes with my dad's own land. I mean, he's got a house out there in the country, and let me tell you this. When we touched down in Germany and we were driving, we got a car with a navigation system. Once we got into Bosnia, we were on non-digitized roads. The navigation system was like, please enter a digitized.
No, I know. Serbia is one of the few places you could run in the New World Order, or what's left of it. I know it's been politically taken over. And they've used government shutdowns over there to take it over politically, correct?
Well, yeah, I mean, it is socialized healthcare over there, and people don't make much money. And I think, you know, they really, literally in the mid-'90s, NATO went in there, and they knew that they were going to set up that whole European economic bloc, and they wanted to make it easier to split up that country, Yugoslavia, which they knew they weren't going to be able to take the whole country into the EU as a whole. So
well, I mean, you know, take the Serbs. Take the Serbs. They saved Madeleine Albright's family from the Nazis. The Serbs were one of the only groups the Nazis couldn't fully conquer. And then how did she repay Belgrade? Bombing your entire infrastructure with DU. I mean, that's what I mean. And then they shot fake video of concentration camp victims to blame the Serbs. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And then I've been threatened repeatedly by Croats and Muslims for being pro-Serb. I'm not pro-Serb. I'm sure Serbs did bad stuff to you too. The point is that the whole world ganged up on the Serbs. God bless you. I'm going to go to everybody. We're back in 60 seconds. Stay with us. We're going to cover it all. I root for underdogs, folks. I'm sorry. Introducing Pro One. It's not going to work here. It might have worked in Nazi Germany, Soviet Russia, Communist China, where people had come from basically peasant classes that were always feudal serfs and used to following orders. Our ancestors came here to this republic. They weren't perfect because they didn't want to be slaves. They came here because they wanted to be free. And the tyranny of the New World Order is not going to work here. Let's go directly to your phone calls on Obamacare. Johnny, Sherry, Mike, Paul, Michael, Vicky, Ray, Don, Robert. We're going to get to all of you and more now in rapid succession. Johnny in Canada, you're on the air.
Alex, what the hell are you doing, man?
Broadcasting worldwide, buddy.
Yeah, I know that, but I'm saying it's time to take the proverbial boot and plant it between the gluteals of the people who are screwing us. You know? I mean, enough is enough. We know what's going on. We know what's happening. It's time to act. But I understand that you don't want to be, how can I say, kind of physical in the aspect.
Hold on. Let me say it this way. Look, the feds are on record. We even know the names of who did it, blowing up Oklahoma City to blame it on patriots. We're winning the info war. Harry Reid admits, in fact, we never played the clip, cue that up, that the Tea Party's running the country. We're starting to turn things around. The last thing we want is violence. Don't worry, they're going to start it because they're losing the fight peacefully. They want a physical operation. I get the fact that we have a right to defend ourselves, but I'm not going to offensively start something. Who do you offensively start it with? It's a big corrupt philosophy we're fighting.
No. I'm not talking about that. I'm saying enough is enough, and we have to speak out loudly enough and say, listen, we know the game. We know what's going on. We're not falling for it anymore, right? And once we have enough people to understand that, then we can say no. And the thing is these corporations and all these big organizations, they all deal with profit margins, right? Well, we start voting with our dollars. And I mean, I'm calling from Canada. In Canada, we are already occupied and controlled and dominated. So we've lost all freedom and liberty up here, and we pray for the basic liberties that you have in America. We look forward to you as the epitome of free society in the world.
Well, let me say this real quick, brother. Let me break this down for you. You have a quasi-socialist system. And I know people say it has a lot of problems like England. This is even worse here. This is like a fascist system. But what is Canadian healthcare like, briefly?
Oh, Canadian healthcare is it. Oh man, I have to wait. I'm a chef part-time, right? I cut my finger. I had to wait 6 hours, and I had to tell the doctor to put 3 stitches into my hand. Unbelievable! Unbelievable!
I hear you. Thank you for the call. Yeah, I watch C-SPAN, so Prime Minister's Questions. They wait like 1.5 years for brain surgery, where it's inoperable if you wait 6 months. I mean, Paul Watson, one of our top writers, one of our great researchers and journalists, he had a cold for a month, and you had to get permission to go to a private doctor. They wouldn't give him at the National Health Service any antibiotics or anything. And I mean, he literally couldn't work for weeks. He was like, I'm desperate, Alex. They won't let me go see a doctor. And I was like, we got to move to America. And he finally threw a fit, and they let him go see a private doctor to pay exorbitant money just to get antibiotics. You can't even get vitamins in most European countries now under Codex Alimentarius, which just means the vitamin code in Latin, because the globalists don't want you having access to your own treatments and things. It's incredible. Let's go to Sherry in West Austin, a little bit closer than Canada or Bosnia or Serbia. You're on the air. Go ahead, Sherry.
Thank you, Alex. Listen, I think the people can turn things around. I feel very positive about it because I think we're embarking on big pharmacare, not Obamacare. Obama, to me, is just another control button to push. And
sure, he's a front man, and it is big pharma insurance care to control what they give us through government, to get rid of doctors making the decisions and patients making the decisions. But do we go with what Mitch McConnell said and let it go ahead and go through? We fought it, let it go through, and then let them get the blame? Or my concern is they'll just fully implode the system and bring in pure collectivization.
Well, first of all, I think this is a step in a process. I don't believe in too big to fail. I don't think there's such a thing. All you have to do is avoid them. And if this is a necessary step, if we're going to get our health care off of a stock exchange, this is where the control is. We can't have socialism in America. We don't have it. We never will have it.
Well, we do have socialism for the big banks and the ultra rich who get government contracts and whose profits are guaranteed and socialized, but then they make the debts public. We get the corporate screw-ups. We get the corporate debts.
I know where you're coming from, Alex, and I agree with you totally. But the way our system is, we've got to see Big Pharma collapse. It's all got to collapse. They're going to try to...
Okay, but I mean, Big Pharma lobbied for this bill. So are you for Obamacare or against it?
I'm for this as a step in a process to get rid of us being on a stock exchange.
All right, I appreciate your call. I hear what you're saying. The problem is the guys that run the stock exchange are the ones running the process. So, I mean, they wrote it, but I hear you. Careful what you wish for. I'm just telling you, it's going to be bad. Thank you so much, Sherry. Real fast, Robert in California, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Taking my call. My wife and I just received letters last week. We each have our own health insurance through our employers. our plans that we're currently on will be discontinued as of January 1st, and they're going to enroll us in new plans, which actually more than double our collective premium costs each month. And that's not including dental and vision care, which will add to that burden as well. And as far as the political football that's being played between the two parties in control of our government, I personally would love to see the government shut down. Just shut the sucker down.
You know, I'm glad you said that. It's almost like don't throw me in the briar patch. Oh, horrible. The big, I mean, every time it partially shuts down or shuts down, you don't even notice anything. It's like wonderful. I mean, it's like, oh my gosh, what if the Nazi government went bankrupt in 1944 and the Reich shut down? Good. Exactly. But the problem is they'll hold us hostage. They'll show people that are dependent. It's why they want us dependent, so we think we need them.
You said it earlier. Why is it always government? Why is the focus always on government? Why do we always have to look to government to save us? Or it's a swindle. It's a giant swindle. And you talk about it on a daily basis. We all know it. Some of us know it. And it's about time the rest of everybody gets on the page and sees the swindle for what it is.
The public needs to understand we have a corrupt group in control across the board. Anything they do, forget the propaganda, anything they implement will be a screw job. And we've seen that. Why keep being folks at the casino getting ripped off that then go mortgage their house because, oh, I'm deep into this. I've got to keep betting on it. You know, I'm going to be a winner someday. We'll be back after this quick break. 877-789-ALEX is the number to call us. We're going to go to Ray and Vicky and Michael and Paul and Mike and Don and Robert. Everybody straight ahead. The news websites are Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. All right, folks. Alex Jones here, back live. We're taking your phone calls right now on this live Sunday edition on Obamacare and what you think of it specifically. I've gone over it. I mean, it is just 50-something taxes conservatively. Some estimates are 80 taxes. 8 of them are on poor people. Payroll taxes, medical devices, doubling of premiums in the first year. I mean, it's all hitting. And so do you do what Mitch McConnell said? Hey, we tried to stop it, let it through, let them get blamed. Or do we get basically hold hostage if we stop it and hold up the whole government process, and then they blame the collapse on those of us that didn't go along with it? It's almost like the Atlas Shrugged thing where people that work just quit working and walk off. Well, that happened in every socialist or communist country. And then finally, things get so bad that you've got a few leaders living in palaces eating caviar, everybody else is starving to death. I mean, are we going to really let the socialists do this to us and the criminals who use our republic form of voting to get enough people domesticated and on the dole that they'll vote to take our guns, take our kids, take our labor, take our lives? This is slavery. It's a bunch of people getting together with special interests, voting our rights away, our money, our energy to them. And they don't care if they lose the prosperity of the top people because they're in control of the system. They're going to do okay. And their minions are too dumb. As long as they see wealthy or middle-class people go bankrupt, they're happy. That's what's so sad about the average socialist poor person is they're just an immoral scumbag. They're unsuccessful because they're usually lazy or evil. I got to be honest about it. I've seen it for myself. Then you've just got ignorant people dumbed down who are poor and getting screwed by the system. And notice the system's always preferential towards the corrupt and the scammer because they're inherently criminal. I'm ranting. I'm going to stop. Let's go to your phone calls. Let's talk to Paul in the United Kingdom, wants to talk about Obamacare. I watch C-SPAN and see your UK Parliament when they talk about people waiting a year and a half for cancer surgery, which is a death warrant. What do you think of government-run health care?
Yeah, it's a hellhole over here, and I'm one of the people to be qualified to say this. I've got members of my family who've died in NHS healthcare, and also criminal gangs getting free healthcare as well. Also, they spent about $3.7 billion in the last year, and people in my country are just suckers, really, paying taxes towards this healthcare, which is basically funneling off to private corporations and banks. And also, they're involved with criminal gangs. And in this country, if you're found in possession of a firearm, right, you are put in jail for, say, like 11 life sentence, right? These people control the criminal gangs. They like the crime going because it keeps the price up on cocaine. And since the Afghan invasion, heroin, basically heroin trade went up at least 90%. And also the crime in this country is at a staggering, from my calculations, 89%. And that's around, on a crime rate per year, is 316,000 a year. Crimes
I was about to say, I've seen the numbers since they took the guns and arrest people that defend themselves with baseball bats. Your crime rate's up sixfold from what it was in 1990. I've seen those numbers. And again, what I just said before I went to you, they give the criminals. I see articles where gypsies steal a family's travel wagon and the government says they're allowed to keep it. It's their culture. That was Daily Mail, BBC. And BBC was saying, yes, that's true. It's racist that you have a trailer, give it to the gypsies. And I guess I agree. I'm trendy. I say kill everybody in England, give their houses to the gypsies. I'm being sarcastic. But this is the level it's reached because the government's a cancer. It just wants more people drawing on it, dependent, and it's at war with any hardworking good person. And by the way, guys, you can Google that. I'm not joking. I'm not joking. In fact, if you defend yourself when your wife's being raped, you're put in jail for 10 years. Sir, go ahead and tell them about it.
I've also, my dad's had run-ins with gypsies before over roofing, tiling, and all other things. And the gypsies are like walking around with conceal and carry firearms in their own, and not even sit.
And when they get caught, they don't get in trouble. But if a Brit or a UK citizen get caught with a gun, you said it, 50-plus year sentences on average.
Yeah. And I think...
And by the way, they keep you there as an example. If you defend yourself with a knife or a bat in your house, it's 10 years. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've also looking at that. When it comes to this issue, in fact, the Second Amendment is not an American tradition. It was brought with your ancestors. They brought the right to keep and bear arms to the New World from the Old World.
Absolutely. It goes back to 1215, and it goes back to the Parliament Act hundreds of years later. It all comes from the fights where they estimate over 1 million people in what's the UK today fought dying for basic freedom. 1 million people over 800 years, and we take that birthright and piss it down the toilet. Go ahead, caller.
This country is so... It's the same because this country is so collectivized. So, and I've noticed there is a genuine awakening because I go to a local university in England. I mean, in my local town, and there's a lot of people are starting to question government now, and there's a lot of people in the law enforcement as well. And I'm sure you've got I'm sure there's UK military and law enforcement is listening to the show anyway.
Well, yeah, because they realize their whole future, their whole culture is gone under the New World Order. The New World Order will not let anything independent, anything wholesome stand. It will take out everything. It is a criminal instinct. God bless you. Good to hear from you. There you go, folks. It's a hellhole under socialist health care in the UK. Ray in Oregon, you got a minute and a half? Welcome, sir. Go ahead.
The war smells like victory.
I agree.
I'm overjoyed with your show, sir. I've been fighting the New World Order for over 30 years on the airwaves, on the internet, on the streets, and you have taken it to a great level, and I understand what it is to be in the hot seat.
We have taken it to the great level, all of us together. My listeners are just as important as I am, and I don't say that to be, sitting there pacifying people. I mean that. I couldn't do this without all of you. We are together. I am humbled to be here, brother.
Hey, there you go, man, because like I said, I've been there, and I did it, I was the thought criminal on a freeform FM station 20-some years ago, and people weren't waking up, and I never saw people coming around. And these last couple weeks, there's been such a shift. I mean, we stopped a Syrian invasion almost unanimously.
Tell you what, stay there, brother. Stay there. Don't hang up, Michael in California. I'm going to come back to you, then Mike in New York, Vicky in Illinois, Ray in Oregon, Dawn in Tennessee, and others. Your calls straight ahead. I'll do another segment of calls. Then I've got all this other news in the final segment I've not hit yet. Fukushima news, driverless car news. That's the total control grid right there. Reporters reveal U.S. assassination program. It's all coming up. 2 more segments left on this worldwide Sunday transmission. Got a bunch of news coming up in the final segment before the weekday show starts 11 a.m. tomorrow. Infowars.com. Our stations in your area. XM as well, shortwave as well. All the listings, Infowars.com/show, or the listen page to find the free video feeds, all of it. But right now, let's go back to your calls quickly. I'm not going to comment on what you have to say because I won't get to everybody if I don't. Just make your point on Obamacare. Where are the government shutdowns going? Do we let them have their nightmare? They don't care. They want to collapse stuff. If evil bureaucrats aren't evil enough, more evil will replace them. That's why my gut tells me, fight it, stop it, don't let it come in. Because history shows that they tend to get even more power once they wreck a system. Then they wreck it more. Then they get more power. But maybe things will be different here in America. I don't know. But there is a big awakening happening. That's very, very positive. Let's talk to Michael in California. You're on the air. Oh, I'm sorry. Ray in Oregon, then Michael. Ray in Oregon, finish your point. I apologize.
Oh, that's okay. I'll be whoever you want me to. Before I get going on the Obamacare, just real quickly before you move on, I'd love it if you let me plug a group I have on your social network.
Sure. You're talking about planetinfowars.com. Tell us the name.
It's called Entertainment Industry Against New World Order, or NWO, I believe is what I put the title as. I have worked as a carpenter on the road with Viggo Mortensen. It was wonderful to hear him on the air. I am trying to get this so that the big names you know of that are afraid to come forward can start anonymously starting projects that they want to fund and back.
I agree. So say the name of it, planetinfowars.com. Go to our social network. And then what's the name of your group again?
Entertainment Industry Against NWO.
Great, buddy. Good to hear from you. Yeah, Viggo Mortensen, I had heard he was a listener years ago. We contacted him. He's a weekly listener. He says he listens every week, at least. We got him on the show. What's frustrating is, let's not exaggerate. I've been contacted by more than 100 big movie stars, rock and roll stars, you name it, that you haven't heard on air, who listen to the show, who know what's going on. They're not liberal or conservative in Hollywood. They're just like you and I that want freedom and are awake. That is the actors, a lot of the producers. But they know by the big money on top, if they talk bad about the New World Order or talk about the Federal Reserve being private or anything, they will not get their funding. I mean, Mark Cuban, I told you 2 years before it came out in the New York Times, I was there when he told a major Hollywood star, we can't put this movie out because I've been threatened by the White House. And I heard that, and I was told not to say anything until it was in the New York Times. Well, I said a little bit on air, so it was on record, but I couldn't tell the whole story. And, I mean, they keep them on a very short leash, folks. You think they like that? I mean, people know that I know people like Mel Gibson, Charlie Sheen. I mean, the list goes on and on. Winona Ryder. Who's the Iron Man guy? I know him good. I keep forgetting his name. Morton Downey Jr., Keanu Reeves. I mean, all of them. You name it. I mean, it's just literally over 100. The Die Hard guy, Bruce Willis, is a listener. Scared to come on the air. And the weird thing is these people say, well, your show is so smart. I'm not that smart. I'm a regular guy. They're intimidated to come on the show. It's bizarre. I mean, it's like they've got to stand up. They're like, but I'm just a Hollywood person. But all the Hollywood folks that want our guns and want communism, they're not afraid to go public. Why can they go public? But you aren't a complete piece of garbage. And by that, I'm not a complete piece of garbage. None of us are perfect. Why don't you go public? It's just so frustrating. I mean, I know for a fact Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie, like 8 years ago, were listeners and saw my movies and you name it. And then they just said, we'll join the CFR and join the New World Order because they're scared. a lot of people learn about this and they go, okay, well, I'm going to go with the UN. I didn't mean to digress into this. And I'm not sitting there dropping names to brag. It's just so frustrating that liberty is popular, but everybody acts like it's dirty and bad. And I see little local talk show hosts bad-mouthing my show because it makes them feel big, when we really know what we're talking about. I mean, this is serious for everybody. Our free country is being dismantled right now. And people think it's like not trendy to defend it. Let's move fast. Michael in California, go ahead.
Hello?
Or Michelle. I've got a Michael and a Michelle. Go ahead.
That's okay. Thank you for everything you do, Alex. My question is, who owns the insurance company? Who's benefiting? Who has the power to push this thing through in the first place?
Well, the big banks that own the major insurance companies want to shut down the small insurance companies. That's just like the big banks want to shut down the small banks. So it's also centralized where they use regulators to shut down anybody that isn't part of the inside crew. So there's a bunch of special interest in here. This is a screw job on more than 50 levels. And it's such a screw job, it is a torpedo to bring America down. And then they'll pose during the takedown as our saviors and say, give us more power, we'll fix it. And the same people that compulsively gamble and buy lottery tickets will believe it and keep doubling down, buying into the con. Do you see what I'm saying? They're the folks that answer the Nigerian email thinking their ships come in. Does that answer your question, Michelle?
Yeah, it does. Thank you very much, Alex. Thanks for everything.
God bless you, ma'am. I mean, we're in deep trouble. The norm in government is tyranny. Liberty is the exception. We've got a case of tyranny. If we can't admit it, we're doomed. Even if we admit what's happening, we got a fight ahead of us. If we don't admit how much trouble we're in, it's over. If all the talk show hosts that listen to my show don't come out and openly call out the globalist, we're going to lose. And they're going to play it safe and probably not do that. And then they'll lose everything. Playing it safe is a recipe for destruction. It is a symphony of destruction. It is a guarantee of enslavement, impoverishment, patheticness. It is the road that slaves travel. Dawn in Tennessee, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, Alex, I wanted to say thank you to you and your family for the sacrifices that you make for liberty. I'm calling as kind of a twofold. I'm a registered nurse who's become disabled because of a back injury that required rods, plates, screws, and inevitably resulted in chronic pain, which requires an intrathecal pump for pain management so that I can walk. I think this healthcare system is not the problem. The doctors, nurses, hospitals, we have the greatest in technology and some of the best doctors and nurses. We do have the best healthcare system technologically in the world, and they're about to get rid of it. Yes. And my issue is being on the inside as a nurse. The problem with the healthcare system is the insurance companies and the pharmacology business. Tell you what, I'm going to come right back, give you 1 minute to finish up. Man, I've got loaded phone calls. Mike in New York, Vicky, so many others. I want to get to everybody. Dawn, stay there. But I've got all this other big news to hit as well. Jam-packed final segment straight ahead. By the way, don't thank me for love and liberty. I'm like a moth to flame. You couldn't pull me away with wild horses. Believe it is the final segment already, but we'll have more airtime, obviously, tomorrow, 11 a.m. Central, with the weekday transmission. I want to go back to your phone calls, but first, let me hit a few headlines that I'll cover more tomorrow before I forget, because I promised to get to this. Here's an article that's up on Infowars.com right now. Very important. Yale professor, Fukushima will threaten humanity for thousands of years. Yeah, it's already conservatively, according to many physicists, 100 times worse than Chernobyl, that the UN says has killed 1 million people with cancers since 1986. A Yale professor is cautioning the world to wake up from its nuclear slumber and face the severity of the Fukushima radiation risk, where 5 of the 6 reactors have partially or completely melted down and where
even mainstream media admits it's getting worse. And they've got tens of thousands of fuel rods stored there that are heating up and melting down. It is such an incredible situation. And by the way, the only reason I'm selling this is because I researched it. And all the scientists and people I talked to said, well, if you're worried about the doubling of radiation in the Northern Hemisphere, just search that term or go to Infowars.com. We have a video and an article about it where we break down all the science. Leave the Northern Hemisphere that's much more radioactive than the Southern Hemisphere. Or take nascent atomic iodine, which you can't get in the stores, which is incredibly hard to get. You got to jump through all these DEA hoops. I've spent months getting a hold of this from an FDA accredited lab. And boy, I tell you, it's sold out, almost sold out the last 3 days. We've got a couple thousand bottles left, and then more is being manufactured right now, but it'll be a few weeks. You'll have to pre-order after that. If you want Survival Shield from InfoWarsLife.com, order it today. But if you don't just take it during a nuclear disaster, this is the healthy, pure iodine. You can read all the details at InfoWarsLife.com and see the video. It's that the thyroid is supposed to be full of nascent iodine, not fluoride they put in the water. They used to put fluoride, I mean, not fluoride, but iodine in the salt. They took it out and put fluoride in instead in the water. Just go find the details at InfoWarsLife.com. Or if you want to get bottles, 1 bottle up to 10 bottles, we've got different packs we're selling. It'll probably be sold out by tomorrow. InfoWarsLife.com or 888-253-3139. And it's double strength at half the price of any competitor. Not that there's many competitors. Nascent iodine is very, very rare and hard to get. InfoWarsLife.com or 888-253-3139. 24 hours a day, you can call and order it. We also have InfoWarsHealth.com with hundreds of amazing products as well. We fund ourselves through free market, great ideas and great products, not like NPR that uses taxpayer money. Okay, let's go quickly to Dawn in Tennessee, who's a registered nurse, to finish up her point. Go ahead.
And the other point I wanted to make, Alex, is the fact of anybody who gets an EOB from an insurance company, and it can even understand it, is look at the charges that insurance companies are charging. And they have entities that are trying to screw the system by coding. And if you get the right code, you get more money. If you get the wrong code, you get less money.
Here's an example. I have some very wealthy friends locally in Austin whose mother last year was bitten by a rattlesnake, and they charged her right at $300,000 for the treatments for a regular person because the hospital didn't tell them to code it right. They were sucking off of them. It should have cost a couple $1,000s for the treatments, maybe $10,000 a day for the hospital bed. But 2 days turned into almost $300,000. This is the screw job to bankrupt the system. And yes, the insurance companies and big pharma are robbing the system. Yes, it's corrupt. But then they wrote a new system knowing everybody would be sick of this one that's many times worse. That's my point.
And you're exactly right. Anybody who has any means, they will code it so that they can get more money. People that don't have funds to pay, they code it differently because they know they'll never get the money.
My dad manages 22 dental offices and turned down a job to hospital management because he didn't want to push vaccines. Ron Paul's been on, Rand Paul's been on, countless other medical doctors. This is a fact for those of us that know about health care. How is it for you, an RN who knows how it really works, to see the lying? How frustrating is that? Because you know more than I do, obviously. I'm informed, and it is frustrating to see people this conned.
It's horrifying, Alex, because the other point of the thing is nurses aren't doing patient care, which is what we went to school for. In the 80s, I went to school to do patient care because I care about people and wanted to do what I could to make people healthy. And it's extremely maddening because you can't do patient care. You're busy. If you go into any hospital, Alex, you look in there, the nurses are at the nurses station doing paperwork, which is required, to get the right codes and the right this and the right that so the hospital gets paid. And aides are out on the floor, pulling IVs out, DCing catheters.
That's right. For those that don't know, the assistants that don't know what they're doing are doing the medical care, because if you make a mistake on an I or a T, literally, it's called death penalty. They shut the whole facility down and charge you tens of millions. It is written by the big insurance companies to shut down anybody they want that doesn't play ball to get rid of American health care, charge us double, and get rid of the greatest health care system the world's ever seen. God bless you. And that's what's so galactically insane about this. This is such a biblical level screw job. I cannot believe it. I cannot believe how bad it is, because I know how it works. I mean, it is so bad, so evil, that words cannot describe it. And it's corrupt corporations that run healthcare now with government who want maximum profits while telling gullible socialists they're going to get some free ride. What you're going to get is the end of any real healthcare, just like the UK. You go in with deadly bacteria in your lungs, you need antibiotics, you're not going to get them. They hope you go home and die. It's all about population reduction while they suck all the wealth out of you. Let's go to Mike in New York. You're on the air.
Glad to speak with you, Alec. It's a privilege, and for your listeners, too, I hope they get enjoyment out of my question. I'll cut short my opinion that concurs with you. I'm in agreement with you for 90%. Well, let me jump to my question.
Sure, brother.
And maybe a small request at the end.
Sure.
Something I haven't heard 3, 4, 5 months, not even from you, is the mandate that somehow reduces the working hours, the normal work week in these countries, in these United States.
Oh, no, well, you must not be listening. We knew what happened. The last number I saw was like 9 million people already. Another 20 million are set, have been cut from 40 hours to 29 or less. Absolutely. It's written to lower the wages and make everybody poor, so why should you work, go on welfare? Because they make, if you work in the system, they make it too expensive to work in the system. It's to push you onto welfare, to make you dependent, to then vote to take the guns. It's an economic revolution. You understand?
Where did the mandate go from 40 hours to 30 hours? I don't understand that.
Because it was written by big corporations that want to drive down wages. Why do they want to bring in illegal aliens? God love the illegals. I'm not against them individually, but they're used as a tool to drive down wages. It's not bringing illegals here to build up the economy. It's bringing them here to drive it down. The ultra-rich have always hated labor. And so they want to destroy it. I believe in a rising tide raises all ships, as Kennedy said. I believe in a greater economy, but they don't want you being uppity. They don't want you doing well. They want you poor because you're politically easier to control as a permanent peasant class. God bless you. There you go. I do mention the employer mandate. We even put a video out with Nancy Pelosi. Image as a dog, leaving the employer mandate on the grass. Well, we promoted the video. It's, what do they call it? The Fox Brothers, Conrad the Constitution. What episode is that? I'll tell you, it's hilarious, folks. The point is Infowars.com, Prisonplanet.com. We stand for justice. We stand for sanity. I've been offered jobs 12 years ago, 10 years ago, 8 years ago to go work for the big establishment. And I said no, because I'm not selling out my fellow humanity. And I'm glad I didn't sell out because it's the right thing to do. And we're more successful than ever because we didn't sell out. At the end of the game, when everybody's sold out, it's pretty cheap to be a sellout, isn't it? It's a screw job for everybody. I liken it to porn. When every young girl that wanted to be a movie star in America graduated high school and went to L.A. to be a porn star, it went from porn stars being paid $1 million a year in the 70s, it was like $10 million today, to being paid nothing. We'll let you plug your website, Toots, if you let 5 guys use your body like a bombing range. Literally, that's why most of the women that were in it have gotten out of it, because there's nothing there. It's the same thing to all you that sell out to the system. When you all sell out, you're going to get nothing, morons. And I'm not being mean to you, but it's time to stop being morons. I didn't get to the head of the nuclear weapons command being suspended. We'll cover that tomorrow, 11 a.m. Central, Infowars.com, and all this other news I didn't get to. Great job to the crew. Free humanity is the answer. Individualism is the answer. God bless you all. I'm Alex Jones. Are we